Greetings, students. Today we're going to go over test 1-1 review. Let's begin. Simplify the expression. Simplify means get rid of parentheses and combine like terms. So in other words, distribute if there are parentheses, like on questions 3, 5, 4, 9, and 6, and combine like terms on all 6 of these. So on question 1, the like terms are positive 2 and negative 10. They are both constants. 8n is a variable. It's got a variable attached to it. A linear term, in other words. So we're going to combine the positive 2 with the negative 10, or the plus 2 and the minus 10. Again, plus or minus and negative kind of means the same thing when you're doing add and subtract. So positive 2 minus 10 is this opposite. This is the opposite of 10 minus 2. So 10 minus 2 is 8. This is the opposite of 10 minus 2. This is negative 8. So what should make sense in your head here when you're doing this is the same as 10 minus 2. It's just the opposite order. So instead of being positive 8, it's negative 8. This one, again, we have a linear term, 6b, and we have two constants, 8 and 3. This is positive 8 and positive 3. So we're just going to add those. 8 plus 3 is 11. Positive 8, positive 3, that's 11. That's not the opposite of 8 plus 3 because there's no negative here in front of the 8. It's the same, it's 8 plus 3. All right, question 3, distribution. 4 times 9 is 36, so that is 36a. 4 times minus 7 is minus 28. We are simply multiplying here the outside constant by the inside constants, or term, I should say, leading coefficient and constant, I should say there. Question 4. Multiplicationing once again, multiply negative 5 by 9. In other words, multiply the constant in front by the coefficient, the lead coefficient, and then multiply the constants together. So that is negative 45n, because a negative times a positive is a negative. Now here we have a negative times a negative. Again, this minus 6 is very similar to negative 6. So when we're saying negative 5 times minus 6, it's the same thing as saying negative 5 times negative 6. That's positive 30. Because when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. So it's the only time when two wrongs make a right. Two negatives make a plus when they multiply. All right, question 5. Distribute 21n minus 12 plus 6. And then combine like terms. This is a combination of questions 1 and 3 put together. We have to distribute first to get the 21n and the minus 12, and then we can take minus 12 plus 6. Again, this is the same as the opposite of 12 minus 6. This is 12 minus 6, it's just the opposite of it. So this is negative 6 instead of positive 6. Why is it the opposite of 12 minus 6? Well, because that 12 is negative and that 6 is positive, so their signs are opposite. They're not the same sign, they're opposite signs. It's the opposite of 12 minus 6. And if you want to write with a parenthesis, you can say parenthesis 12 minus 6, opposite in the front, negative in front. Anyways, distribute the 9. This is 9 minus 18r plus 6. The negative is attached to the 18, not the 9. This is positive 9, positive 6. This is negative 18. Again, minus 18 or negative 18. The 18 is the negative one here. The 9, and the 6 are positive. So this is 9 plus 6 when I combine like terms. So I have negative 18r plus 15. That's my answer. If you write that in the opposite order, that's fine. That's 15 minus 18r. I did not say to put this in descending order is what it's called. But most of you are going to put it this way anyways, because that's what you did last year. All right, so that's questions 1 through 6. On this exam, there are approximately 30 questions. So we're going to have roughly 50 points on the front, 50 points on the back, so roughly 3 points each. Roughly 3 points each. 3 to 4 points each, at least for my class. All right, here, we're going to replace the x with a 2 and the z with a 6. Whenever you replace a variable with a number, put a parenthesis around it. So this is parenthesis 2, parenthesis 6, plus parenthesis 6. Eliminate the parentheses now. So this parenthesis is unnecessary because it does not accomplish anything. So we're going to get rid of it directly, right away. This one, I need to multiply to get rid of it, this parenthesis, because there's two numbers next to each other. So I'll make that into a 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. my finished answer. All right, next one, question 8, 3. X becomes 4, so parenthesis 4, plus y becomes 4 as well. They're both becoming 4 here, parenthesis 4. This parenthesis is unnecessary again, because there's nothing in front of it. This one, however, we have to multiply 3 and 4 to undo that parenthesis. So that is a 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. Question 9, parenthesis 4 minus parenthesis 3. I'm sorry. P is 3, Q is 4. So I should not use 4 for P here. I should use 3 for P. So parenthesis 3 minus parenthesis 4 divided by 4. So again, this lead parenthesis is unnecessary. There's nothing in front of it. So we're just going to get rid of that one directly. The second parenthesis we have to divide. Don't do that one. So 3 minus 1. This is 2. Question 10, it's already got parentheses around everything. So Z becomes 3, parenthesis 3. Y becomes 4, parenthesis 4 plus 4. Or the quantity 3 times the quantity 4 plus 4. If you want to say it correctly. 3 times 8 is 24. Notice I got rid of the first parenthesis first, because there's nothing in front of it. But the second one I had to add and then distribute. Key things you need to recognize and realize when you're doing math. All right, question 11. Parenthesis negative 6. A is negative 6. Minus 6 parenthesis negative 4 divided by 6. So that lead parenthesis is again unnecessary. There's nothing in front of it. So that'll be a negative 6. These 6's will divide. So I can divide to eliminate this parenthesis. I'd prefer. Or I can multiply and then divide. Either way, this is going to be a negative 4. 6 minus a negative 4. So here's a good concept to review. Minus negative becomes a plus. So this is the opposite of 6 minus 4. The opposite of 6 minus 4 is negative 2. All right, moving along. Question 12. X becomes 6. So negative 6 parenthesis 6, or negative 6 times the quantity 6. Y becomes negative 1, so plus the quantity negative 1. Z becomes negative 6 minus the quantity negative 6. So negative 6 times 6 is negative 36. Here the parentheses is unnecessary, so I'm just going to take the parentheses out. Negative 36 minus 1. And here minus negative becomes a plus. Once again, minus negative becomes a plus, that's plus 6. So negative 36 minus 1 plus 6. So we do negative 36 minus 1 is negative 37 plus 6. And then we have the opposite of 37 minus 6, which is 31, negative 31. So right here, on negative 36 minus 1, those are same signs add. Again, that's like saying we're $36 in the hole, or 36 in debt, and we borrowed another dollar. We're now 37 in debt. Negative 36 minus 1, negative 37. That's not the same as this, where it's negative 6 plus 4. That's the opposite of 6 minus 4, because the signs are opposite. This, the signs are not opposite. Negative 36 minus 1, they're the same. All right, so there's another x6. Again, approximately 3 points each. 4 for some of the questions, but 3 is the approximate value. Test will be out of 100 for my class. Question 13. You can rewrite this with the letter on the left if it makes you more comfortable, or you can simply subtract 18 from 34 directly at the start of the question to get 16. The reflexive property does say that you can switch the sides around, either at the end or at the start of the question. So if you subtract 18 at the start, switch it around into n equals 16 for your answer. So these are opposite operations. So here I'm going to divide by negative 11, because the opposite of multiplying by 11 is dividing by it. 11 into 121 is 11. Again, here I can switch the equation around to 7m equals negative 140. I can do this at the start or at the end of the question. The opposite of timesing by 7 is dividing by 7. 7 into 140, well, that's the same as 7 into 14 with an extra 0. Not that lengthy to do. 7 to 14 is 2 with an extra 0, so 20, and it's negative because the 140 was negative. Negative 20 because the 140 was negative. All right, so again, once again, we can switch the signs at the start or the end of the question here, whatever your preference is. Adding 19 to negative 121 to solve this equation. And again, this is the opposite of 21 minus 19. So instead of 21 minus 19, it's 19 minus 21, or you could say negative 21 plus 19, which is the same as 19 minus 21. So this is negative 2 instead of positive 2. The opposite of 21 minus 19. All right, so there's the front side. Again, roughly half the points on the front. These are all your basic Algebra 1 review questions and pre-algebra review questions from the past, like 3 years in math. And it just takes practice. Go home and practice the concepts. Look through it again, and you'll do decent. On the back, we have the harder questions. So starting with 17 through 20 here, these start to be a little bit more lengthy. They start to have a few more steps, and they start to involve a few more concepts. So when you get into number 17 here, keep that in mind. The back's going to take you longer than the front to finish. So on the back, you're going to have to distribute on all of these equations to be able to do them properly. So 4 plus negative 42x minus plus 42, not minus, equals negative 206. So here, I'm going to combine like terms. 4 and 42 makes 46. So negative 42x plus 46 equals to negative 206. Taking 46 from 206, negative 42x equals negative 252. And then that goes in 6 times evenly. So if you're having trouble with the division, we did make it even integer divisions. Just take your time and divide it out longhand if you need to. I will give partial points for work in my class. All right, next one, distribute the 8. Negative 85 equals 8v minus 48 plus 3. Negative 48 plus 3 is negative 45. So negative 85 equals 8v minus 45. Adding 45 to negative 85 is going to yield negative 40 equals 8v. Then dividing by 8 is going to yield negative 5. Again, the reflexive property says I can switch this around, this equation, when I solve it. Question 19. We're going to distribute again. It's like all of these. Negative 35p plus 21 equals negative 39 minus 5p. Adding the 5p over to the negative 35p, again, those are opposite signs now, so it's the opposite of 35 minus 5, so it's negative 30p plus 21 equals negative 39. Taking 21 from 39 yields negative 60. Negative 30p equals negative 60. Dividing negative 30 into negative 60 yields 2. Positive 2. Question 20, distribute it again. Negative 32n plus 56 equals 7n minus 17. Taking 7 from negative 32 yields negative 39. N plus 56 equals negative 17. These are going to be same signs add when you take 56 from negative 17. So those are going to add together. So negative 39n equals negative. That's going to be 70. 60. Got a mistake here somewhere. Oh, sorry. It's going to be opposite sign subtract. There's our first mistake. So again, when you're doing this type of work, it's very easy to make a mistake. You see I didn't make that 56 negative. I caught myself luckily because I know the answer already. But be careful when you distribute and when you're doing your work. So this will be negative 39, and then it will be n equal, or positive 39. It'll be n equals negative 1. Because the positive 56, negative 17, is the opposite of 56 minus 17. Sorry, it's 56 minus 17. Positive 56 minus 17. All right, so those are the longer equations. Expect them to take a little while. You can put the number back in to check your work. Put the answer back in, check your work, and that will be one thing you can do to verify if you're doing things right here. All right, next thing, factor out the common term. This does not have a letter. Let me get 50 doesn't. These ones do. So we're not going to pull out a letter, we're just going to pull out a number because this one doesn't have any letters to pull out. It doesn't have any variables. So they all divide by 5. They're multiples of 5. Now whether or not you pull out a negative 5 or a positive 5 is up to you. I'll pull out a negative 5 and I'll change them all into positives. So positive 10, negative 7v cubed, and negative 8v to the fourth. I did not say to write it in descending order, so you can write it in the order that's given, or you can put it in descending order if you'd like, putting the v fourth first, then the v cubed, and then the 10. And those are positives, because I pulled the negatives in front. So positive 7v cubed and positive 8v to the fourth. All right, here, again, I can pull out the negative if I want, or I can leave it inside. So these all divide by 6, so I'll use a negative 6. Now, these all have x, so there's a letter in common. X, there's a variable in common. This one has x cubed, this one has x fourth, this one has x to the 7th. I'm going to pull out x cubed. Why x cubed? Because they can all have x cubed that go into them. So when I take an x cubed from a 7th, that's going to leave me x4, because 7 minus 3 is 4. 6 divided into 18 is 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. Sorry, the lights go off sometimes in my room. As those of you there in my class know. All right. Negative 6 and the negative 6 is positive 1. Cubed in the fourth is x. So 4 minus 3 is x to the first. Then here I pulled out both the 6 and the x cubed, leaving me with just a 1. And it'll be negative because I pulled a negative in the front there. And there's our finished answer. All right, factor completely. The first two are split the middle factoring. So take the first group, pull out the common items. So these both divide by 5. They're multiples of 5s. And then they also have an a to the second. So 2 from 3 is 1. So this is 4a left over. 2 from 2, that leaves both the a's in the front. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. So 4a minus 3 there. Here, these both divide by 8. So plus 8. I'll use a different color. Both divide by 8. 8 in the 32 is 4. So that's 4a. 8 in the 24 is 3. Notice here the 4a minus 3, those are the same. So that's one of my factors. The other factor is 5a squared plus 8. The items in front of the parentheses, in other words. Question 20 is the same deal. 40 and 15 multiplied by 5. They both have an r squared. So 40 divided by 5 is 8r. 15 divided by 5 is minus 3. Next item here, our next pair, the 48 and the 18. These are both multiples of 6. So plus 6. 6 into 48 is 8r. 6 into 18 is 3. So there we have 5a squared plus 5r squared plus 6, and then 8r minus 3. All right, the next four, factoring. So for factoring, I like to do the x factor. In the top, we're going to put a times c. In the bottom, we're going to put b. So here, a is 1, c is 14, this is 14. Let's just go through and put the a times c in the top of all of these. A is 1, b is c is negative 5, so this is negative 5. A is 1, c is negative 8, this is negative 8. A is 1, c is 72, this is 72. A is 5, c is 12, this is 60. A is 3, c is 16, this is 48. Now b does go in the bottom, but I'm not even going to bother putting the b in the bottom yet. until I do the left and the right. The left and the right are the factors of A times C. Let's just do the factors of A times C, the factor pairs. Starting off with 1, especially if you're confused at all about this. If you're confused at all about this and you get them wrong, always start with 1. So 1 times 14. What's the other factor pair of 14? Well, 2 is the next number larger than 1, and it does go in 7 times. 2 times 7. So what I'm doing here is I'm breaking the 14 down into its factor pairs, the numbers that multiply to make 14. 3 doesn't go into 14. Neither does 4, 5, 6, and I already did 7. I already have 7 listed. So these are my 2 factor pairs. There's not always 2. Sometimes there's 3, sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 1. All right, negative 5. This will be 5 and 1. And there's no other factor pairs. Now it is a negative 5, so we're going to decide which of these is negative in a minute here. But there's only one possible factor pair for 5. It's got to be 5 and 1. We'll decide which one's negative in a minute here. It does negative 5 when it multiplies. Again, we're just doing the factor pairs for now. We'll come back and finish the questions in a minute. What about 8? Well, again, if you're confused at all, start with 1. 1 times 8, and again, one of them has to be negative. We'll decide which one in a minute. 2 also goes in 4 times. 3 does not go in, and we already divided by 4. So these are the 2 possible factor pairs for 8 here. What about 72? Well, this one's got a lot. 1 and 72, we'll start there. 2 and 36. Now, why did I choose 2 next? Well, because it's even, and I'm going up one number at a time. Now, does 3 go in? Well, 3 goes into 36, so the answer to that question is yes. Because if 3 goes into any of the factors here on the left, it goes into the original number. So 3 does go in. Well, how many times? Well, we can look at the 36 and the 2, or we can look at the 72, the original number, to decide how many times. It is 24 times. If you don't like division, I'm sorry. Math is division. Math is division. You need to learn how to divide. 4. Well, 4 goes into 24 and 36. So 4 goes in as well into 72. So we're going to do 4. Again, if you need to take your time and divide it longhand, that's fine. If you want to use these other factors to help you get what 4 goes in, that's fine as well. It's 18. What about 5? Well, it doesn't end in 0 or 5. 5 is kind of a nice one to use because if it doesn't end in 0 or 5, it doesn't divide. What about 6? Well, 6 goes into 18, goes into 24, goes into 36, so it definitely goes into 72. 6, and again, if you have trouble dividing, use the factors before it, or divide longhand. So this will be 6 and 12. It's on the times table. What about 7? 7 doesn't go in any of these. 7 doesn't go into 72. Doesn't go into any of these. What about 8? Well, 8 goes into 24. So 8 goes into 72, and it's also on the times table. 8 and 9. I'll have to write it at the top here because I'm running out of space. 9 and 8. So there's my factor pairs. Now, how do I know I'm done? Well, because 10's not going in, and I've already tried everything above 10. These are the numbers above 10, 12, 18, 24, 36, 72. So once I get to the factor set that's close together, 9 and 8, or within a number of each other, I know it's done. All right, 60. 1 and 60. 2 and 30. 4 and 15. At 4 and 15 is kind of hard because 4 doesn't go into 30, but it does go into 60. Again, it just has to go into one of them. 5 and 12. And I forgot one of the factors here when I was going up. 3 and 20. I forgot to do 3. I did 1, 2, 4, 5. I'll add 3 right now. 3 and 20. 6 and 10. And then we can try 7, 8, 9. Well, 7, 8, and 9 won't work because 7 doesn't go in any of those. 8 or 9. So there's my factors for 60. All right, 48. Well, 48 is going to be 1 and 48. 2 and 24. 3 goes into 24, so 3 definitely goes into 48. It goes in 16 times. 4 goes into 24 and into 16, so 4 definitely goes in to 48. It goes in 12 times. 5 doesn't go in. 6 goes into 12, so 6 goes into 48. Goes 8 times. There's my factor sets. Now, why am I doing this before I put down the value b? Because I want you to understand when you get lost on these, It's not a matter of you don't understand the concept. It's a matter of you don't know how to divide. You don't know how to write factor pairs. I'm sorry. If you get lost on this, that's the problem that you're having. You're not able to divide, to list the factor pairs of a number. So that's where you need to focus your work. List the factor pairs. Now you can write down the value of b, -9, and you can look at the factor pairs and you can figure out which one makes -9. Well, these two make 15 when they add. These two right now make +9. I'm gonna cross out the 15 because it's way off. But +9 is just the opposite sign of -9. So what can I do to make it negative? I can make both of the factors negative, which is acceptable. As long as you do it to both, that's acceptable. So x minus 7 and x minus 2 is the factoring of this question. You can check this with distribution. Factoring is reverse of distribution. X times x is x squared. -7 times -2 is +14. Here's my -7x. Here's my -2x, -9x. There we go. Good. All right, so here, I told you before we want -5, so we have to decide which of these is negative to get -4 for my value of b. Well, 5 minus 1 is +4. So if the 1 was negative, it would be +4. I want the opposite of 5 minus 1. The opposite of 5 minus 1. -5 plus 1, in other words. So -5 and +1 here for my factors. X minus 5, x plus 1. Again, you can check with distribution to make sure you get it right. So here I have a -5x plus an x to get that -4x. All right, so here I said again, we have to decide which of those is negative to get the -8. So I'm looking at this. This is 4 plus 2. That's 6. That's way off. 7. That's not going to work. That's not going to make 7. It's never going to make 7. This is 8 plus 1 right now, but so it's 9. But if I made it a -1, it would be negative. It would be 7, which is what we want because we want one of the factors to be negative here. We have a -8. So I'll have a -1 there with that positive 8. X plus 8, x minus 1. All right, here I want 17. So I'm looking at all the factoring pairs. 72 and 1, that's 73. 36 and 2, that's 38. 23 and 24 and 3, that's 27. 18 and 4, that's 22. 12 and 6, that's 18. None of those work. 9 and 8 works, but it's positive 17 right now. So again, it's acceptable to make them both negative if you need a negative sum. So -9 and -8 are the other factors here. X minus 9, x minus 8. Are my factorings. Now, here's a hint for you. I usually choose things off of the times tables. So I'm not often going to choose these larger factors. The 72, the 36, the 24, and the 18. However, that doesn't apply to all mathematics. That's why we're writing down all the factors, and I do want you to practice division because you guys are horrible at it, most of you. All right, 32 and 2. There's my factors to get -32. Now here, since a is not 1, whenever a is not 1, you have extra steps. You have to divide by a, or you have to do a different type of method. So I did this with the division by a method. So I'm going to divide -30 by 5 to get -6. That's my factor, x minus 6. The reason I have to divide by a here is because it's not 1. On all the rest of these, a was 1, so when you divide by 1, it keeps the number the same. Now the other number, -2, does not divide by 5. So that tells me my other factor is a fractional factor. In other words, a fractional solution. It's 5x minus 2. And there it is factored. So when they don't divide, there's your lead coefficient. There's your constant. All right. 26. 24 and 2 will make 26 if they're both negative. So that's what I want, 24 and 2. To make -26. Now again, I'm going to divide by 8. -24 divided by 3. That's -8. X minus 8 is one of my factors. Now negative 2 does not divide by 3. So my other factor is 3x minus 2. And again, you can check your work on these longer factoring questions. Good luck. There's 50 points on the back here as well as the front. Same amount of points as the front. Comment if you have questions.